दी एडवेंट ऑफ महात्मा गांधी। आज का टॉपिक है दी एडवेंट ऑफ महात्मा गांधी, द इमरजेंस ऑफ मोहनदास करमचंद गांधी, गुजराती, इंग्लिश एंड हिंदी, एंड द टैगोर इन्फ्लुएंसिंग इंडियन लाइफ एंड लिटरेचर। टैगोर इन्फ्लुएंसिंग इंडियन लाइफ एंड लिटरेचर were quite often complementary to one another. Gandhi spoke the language of the common man and was for outcasts. His weapon was the weapon of truth and non-violence. He was for traditional values and against industrializations. He very soon turned himself into a medieval saint and social reformer. Tagore called him Mahatma, saint. Gandhi became the theme of both poetry and fiction of cultural nationalism. गांधी जो है वो क्या बन गए थे, वो पोइट्री और कल्चरल नेशनलिज्म के थीम बन गए थे. ही बिकेम एन अपोस्टल ऑफ पीस एंड आइडलिज्म. पोइट्स लाइक वालाथॉल वालाथॉल मलयालम, सत्येंद्रनाथ दत्ता बंगाली, काजी नजरुल इस्लाम बंगाली and Akbar Allahabadi Urdu accepted Gandhi as a challenge to Western civilization and as an assertion of the dignity of Asian values. Um, Gandhism heroes swamped the fictional world of that time. Raja Rao English, Tara Shankar, Bandi Upadhyay Bengali, Premchand Hindi, V.S. Khandekar Marathi, Sarat Chandra Chatterjee Bengali, Lakshmi Narayan Telugu all created Gandhian protagonists as rural reformer or social workers with moral and religious commitments. It was not the writers but the people who created the Gandhi myth, and the writers in their turn used it effectively to mark a period of great awakening. Progressive literature. The advent of Marxism or the Indian literary scene in the 30s is a phenomenon which India shared with many other countries. Both Gandhi and Marx were driven by opposition to imperialism and concern for the dispossessed section of society. The Progressive Writers Association was originally established in 1936 by some expatriate writer in London like Mulk Raj Anand English. However, soon it became a great pan-India movement that brought together Gandhian and Marxist insights into society. The movement was especially conspicuous in Urdu, Punjabi, Bengali, Telugu, and Malayalam, but its impact was felt all over India. It compelled every writer to re examine his or her relationship with social reality. In India, Chayavad was challenged by a progressive school that came to be known as Pragativad, progressivism. Nagarjuna was undisputedly the most powerful and noted Hindi poet of the progressive group. Making of modern theatre. Sanskrit drama after the 10th century lost its tenor. It strove no more through symbol and gesture to realize the truth behind human experience. Medieval Indian literature was glorious, but it was an era of devotional poetry, which was a little indifferent to social representation of life on stage. The Islamic taboo against entertainment, such form of entertainment was also responsible for the decline of Indian theatre, and therefore drama remained in a state of Olivian. However, folk played continued to entertain the audience. With the advent of the modern period and the impact of Western literature, drama took a new turn and developed as a form of literature. The Parsi theatre around 1850 started staging plays based on Indian mythology, history and legends. Whether it's moving tropage, they traveled to different parts of the country and made a tremendous impact on their audience. Agha Hashar, 1882 1931, was an important playwright of the Parsi theatre. But Parsi plays were mostly commercial. and cheap. In fact, modern Indian theatre grew mainly as a reaction against its initial crudity and superficiality. Search for modernity. तो ये कुछ हो गया बात मिडिवल लिटरेचर के बारे में. इंडियन लिटरेचर थ्रू द एजेस. Ancient Indian literature. Indian literature includes everything which is included in the world literature. In its broadest sense, religious and mundane, epic and lyric, dramatic, and didactic poetry, narrative and scientific prose, as well as oral poetry, song in the Vedas 3000 BC to 1000 BC. When one finds such expressions, I am standing in water, but I am very thirsty. One marvels at the continuity of a rich heritage that is both modern and traditional. It is therefore not very correct to say that ancient Indian literature includes only the religious classes of Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. Jain narrative literature in Prakrit language is full of erotic stories and realism. It is not true to say that the Vedas are the series of sacred texts used in religious rituals and sacrifices. The Vedas are essentially archetypical poetry of high literary value. They are mythical. They are mythical in nature and their language is symbolic. Being mythical, they have multiple meanings, and therefore the theologians molds his rights, the preacher seeks his belief, the philosopher finds the clues for its intellectual speculation, and the lawmakers work out the social and political lifestyle in accordance with the archetypical truths of the Vedas. The Puranas. The word Purana means that which renews the old. The Purana means like that which renews the old, and is almost always mentioned along with Itihasa. The Puranas were written to illustrate and expound the truth of the Vedas. The fundamental abstruse philosophical and religious truths are expounded through popular legends or mythological stories. Nothing can exert greater credence on the human mind that when it is described as having happened. Thus, itihasas combined with narration makes a story seem credible. Together with the two epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, they are the origins of many of the stories and uh, anecdotes of the social, religious, and cultural history of India. The main Puranas are 18 encyclopedic and so encyclopedic collection of legends and myths. Though the archaic form of the genre might have existed as early as the 4th or the 5th century BC, the famous names of the 18 Mahapuranas were not discovered earlier than the 3rd century AD. The phenomenal popularity of these Mahapuranas gave rise to yet another subgenre known as the Upapuranas or minor Puranas. They are also 19 in number. Classical Sanskrit literature. The Sanskrit language is divided into Vedic and the classical. The greater epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata and the Puranas, are the part of the classical period but are discussed separately because of their enormity and importance, and are undoubtedly the precursor of the Sanskrit Kavya, epic poetry, Nataka, drama, and other literature. Classical Sanskrit literature include the Kavyas, epic poetry, Nataka, drama, lyric poetry, romance, popular tales, didactic fables, genomic poetry, scientific literature and grammar, medicine, law, astronomy, mathematics, etc. Classical Sanskrit literature is on the whole secular in character. During the classical period, language was regulated by the rigid rules of Panini, one of the greatest Sanskrit grammarians. The tallest figure in this pair of epic poetry is Kalidasa. Between AD 380 to AD 415, he wrote two great epics, Kumar Sambhava, the birth of Kumar, and Raghubhamsa, the dynasty of the Raghus. In the Kavya tradition, more care is bestowed on the form, such as the style, figure of speech, conceits, descriptions, etc. The story theme is The story theme is pushed to the background. The overall purpose of this such a poem is to bring out the efficacy of a religious and cultural way of life without flouting any ethical norms. Other distinguished poets like Bhairavi, 550 AD, wrote Kirata, Kiratarjuniam Kirtanan Arjun Maga 65 to 700 AD wrote Shishupala Vadha, the killing of Shishupal. And there are several other poets like Sriharsha and Bhatti who are of great merit. Literature in Pali and Prakrit. Prakrit and Pali are the spoken language of Indians after the Vedic period. Prakrit is the widest sense of the term, was indicative of any language that in any manner deviated from the standard one, that is Sanskrit. Pali is archaic Prakrit. In fact, Pali is a combination of various dialects. There were these were adopted by Buddhists. Jains act in ancient India as their sacred language. Lord Buddha, 500 BC, used Pali to give his sermons. All the Buddhist canonical all the Buddhist canonical literature is in Pali, which includes Tipitaka, threefold basket, Tipitaka, threefold basket. First basket, Vinaya Pitaka, contains the monastic rules of the order of Buddhist monks. The second basket, Sutta Pitaka, is the collection of the speeches and dialogues of the Buddha. In third basket, the Abhidhamma Pitaka elucidates the various topics dealing with ethics, psychology, or theory of knowledge. The Jataka Kathas are the non-canonical Buddhist literature in which stories relating to the former births of the Buddha, Bodhisattva, or the would-be Buddha are narrated. These stories propagate Buddhist religious doctrines and are available in both Sanskrit and Pali. As the tales grew in bulk, they assimilated popular tales, ancient mythology, stories from older religious traditions. Jataka are in fact based on common heritage of the Indian masses. Buddhist literature is also abundantly available in Sanskrit, which includes the great epic Buddha Charita by Ashwaghosa 78 AD. Early Dravidian literature. The Indian people speak languages belonging to major four distinct speech families: the Austric, Dravidian, Sino-Tibetan, and Indo-European. In spite of these four different language groups, there is an Indian characteristic running through these language groups, which forms one of the bases of that certain underlying uniformity of life, described by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru as unity in the midst of diversity. Dravidian literature mainly consists of four languages: Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam. Out of these, Tamil is the oldest language which preserved its Dravidian character of the most. Kannada as a cultural language is almost as old as Tamil. All these languages have borrowed many words from Sanskrit and vice versa. Tamil is the only modern Indian language which is recognizably continuous with a classical past. Early classical Tamil literature is known as Sangam literature, meaning fraternity. Hmm. Early Tamil literature is known as Sangam literature, which means fraternity, indicating mainly two school of poets: Aham, subjective love poem, and Puram, objective public poetry and heroic. Aham deals purely with the subjective emotion of the lover, and Puram with all kinds of emotion, mainly the vulgar and glory of kings and about God and evil. So aham deals with the purity, with the subjective emotion of the lover, and Puram with all kinds of emotion, mainly the valor and glory of kings and about good and evil. The Sangam classics, consisting of 18 books, 8 anthologies of lyrics, and 10 long poems, are well known for their directness of expression. Medieval literature. Around 1000 AD, local differences in Prakrit grew more and more pronounced, which later came to be known as Apabrahma. Apabhramsa. So that's all about this video. So if you find it